listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys watch their way through Sex and the City for the first time ever, mostly. I'm Cory Cavin.
I'm Kevin James Doyle.
My name is Jon Sieber.
And we are here with the best guest you could ever ask for,
That's right.
JTB.
It's
Yes,
JTB
JTB.
tonight, just the boys.
Although John's got another guest where he's at. John's got Old Man Winter.
Ooh, I do have Old Man Winter. I'm in Wisconsin. You two are in New York.
Mhm.
I came to visit my folks in northern Wisconsin, like right on the border of Upper Peninsula and Michigan. And it's October, and there is a good 4 inches of snow on the ground. So it is a winter wonderland up here in October.
Mhm.
Christmas in New York. Christmas. It's going to be Christmas in New York soon. You know?
Yeah, Christmas in New York, like the holiday season in New York is so incredible. It's just, it is everything. Fall into the holiday season is everything it's hyped up to be. And then January, like 13th or 15th comes and all the joy, all the pleasantries of that just go right down the toilet. And it is hell on earth.
Now, wait,
March.
I have a
And it's hell on earth, I would argue, till like second week of March.
Yeah, it's just like you're stuck in your little 600 square foot apartment. You can't go out. When you do, you just step into a puddle of melted slush mixed with homeless piss and dead rats. And it's just, I hate it. It's
I
awful.
have a question though. Do you feel like experiencing, I think this winter's going to be rough. I think this next 6 months to a year may be rough for a lot of people, especially the next 6 months when it's cold. But do you feel like going forward, like let's say life is 1000% back to normal. Do you think after that, our memory of going through the various quarantining and social distancing, that it would make January, February, and March in New York easier? Because we're like, we've done this before. And we actually know.
No, because like people are like quarantined and social distancing, and it sucks because if they don't, they'll, die or get others sick. But like winter sucks because it's gray out, it's dark at 5 o'clock, and it's cold as balls, and like it's horrible. It has nothing to do with like getting through something so you don't get sick. It's just like, oh, the outside is awful.
I also think like there's a thing where once you go through something really hard, hey, Kevin, ask a question, expect an answer, bro.
Yeah.
Kevin was just shrugging when John's going to answer. No, but like there's a thing where you go through one thing. I think this is what you're saying. You go through one thing and it makes you stronger for other things. So it's like, hey, we did social distancing. Winter will never be as bad again. But I also think we have a really quick capacity to just forget.
Totally.
Like you're going to get to the third week of January. I mean, you'll get the third week of January and be like, oh, it's winter again in New York, or wherever you are.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is like all of the factors that make it shitty are still going to be there. And I don't think us being like, we were able to quarantine for a while in 2020 is going to make those factors suck any less.
All right. My argument in defense of that it won't be as bad is like, there's like a bar close to me called Bar Base, and there was like and they just have live music every night.
I always thought that was Barbies, dude.
Barbies. Yeah, Barbies.
Butterbees.
You've been to Barbies?
It just looks like it's BARBES, right?
Yeah. Barbies.
That's Barbies, man.
But like there's been like a few boring cold winter nights that's like February, and it's like, it's Tuesday, and then it's like I'll like go over there, and then it's like super warm, there's like music playing, and like and it ends up being like one of those things that's like, okay, I had to drag myself into the gross mud. That's why I got my LL Bean boots, and I'm not that comfortable because I have my coat on the whole time. And
what's the brand of the coat?
The coat is Gap, but it was like on sale. It was like a $300 coat that I got for like $20 because
Cool.
I just like struggled through all of winter until like the sale in March. And I was like, got it for $20. And I was like, I'm going to wear this next season. And then I've been like, you know what? I would appreciate the fact that won't happen this year is a huge bummer. And I think I may appreciate that not this year because I don't think it'll happen, but next year I'll make a note to appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah.
So you'll appreciate it like for 15 minutes and then it'll go back and then you have to walk home.
Yeah.
Like with 3 drinks and freezing your ass off.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
From Barbies.
from Barbies.
If your mom ever opened a bar, it could be Barbie's place.
Barbies. Yeah. Barbie D's.
Barbie D's. Barbies. I'm going to call my mom that for now on. I'm going to call her Barbie.
Barbie.
Hey, Barbie.
I think one thing I do miss about the winters in New York. Well, one, I miss snow because it hasn't snowed, I feel like, in like 3 years. But 2, I do like when it is that horrible time and you get everyone like packed into some bar like you're talking about, like at Barbie's, and you do end up having one of those great nights. Like you do have one of those great going out nights where especially when you've trudged through the snow and then you get there. And I do think it will be a little more of a bummer this year. And so you may end up having that like at someone's house to watch a movie or with your like small little pod of people or something like that. If the virus, like if things were different with the way quarantine works, it would be cool if there were like almost like quarantine speakeasies. Like, or if there are like, do you think if like enough people got vaccinated, if you had like a 10-person vaccine pool, you could all just go to some underground club? And
I think that is happening.
It probably is. Yeah, it is.
You
see those on Instagram all the time.
It's just
they're called super spreader events.
I know, but that's the thing is like actual not cool things to do. Like it's one thing to do something subversive, and that's like actually truly very subversive to do because you're potentially putting other people's lives at risk. And it's like not even cool in a way that it used to be cool. Like whatever, I'll like even getting like a face tattoo is subversive, but then kind of got accepted. And this is like, it's still kind of shitty if you went to your like speakeasy. But
yeah,
what would you say is the best? I mean, they don't have as many like nights out. What, like, I guess they do with the Navy one. I'm just trying to think of what would be the best night out in Sex and the City.
There was the best
rager.
It was the one where she smokes pot in the back of and she gets arrested by the cop, and they're in that like dive bar.
Yeah. They go to that one was pretty great.
Yeah.
And then Miranda wears her jeans.
Do you know what's weird is like, I'm 35 now. It was my birthday last week.
Shout out to birthdays.
Yeah. And shout out to birthdays. Happy birthday.
But it's like, I wonder if living in New York, if you can just look at your numbers, if you end up just the amount of wild, crazy nights that like most people have like 20 in their life.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I feel like I have like 45 a year.
Oh, I mean, it's true though.
Maybe that's just called being an alcoholic. I don't know.
not just alcohol, like yes,
like,
but also
you know what's weird. I'm 35 and I have the liver of an 82-year-old, and
I get blackout drunk 4 times a week. It's great.
Really wild.
Like, it's crazy.
Just ending up at weird random. Like I haven't ended up at a random place in months because everything's the same now. You know what I mean? Like there's everything's planned. There's no just like, oh, and then like I ran into, there's none of that. It's this was very expected. Well, I knew for a whole week at 7:30, I'd be here with Jon and Cory. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, but
true. Although it does get a little different in that like you and I went on like a 26-mile bike ride one night through Manhattan.
That's true.
It was dark and it was like, we didn't go into any businesses. I went into one bodega like with a mask on, but like it's a different thing. But I agree.
Usually those bikes would get locked up. You'd be having drinks. You'd probably take drunk subway ride home.
Should I text Sarah Jessica Parker right now and just say, what's up? You want to hang?
Absolutely. Do it. I do think like what you're saying.
Should I?
No, don't do that. No, don't.
We have
our listeners can listen to us make bad decisions in real time right now.
It's funny. They're like, you guys are talking about how you're not at a bar, but
hey,
you're
Kevin,
making the same decisions as if you were
when
at a
you
bar at
wanted
3
to
a.m.
walk up to Macaulay Culkin and just tell him that your name was Kevin?
Oh yeah,
I do remember that.
Similar situation
also,
right here.
You know what's really funny is that same story. I was talking about this with Kevin's old roommate, who is now my neighbor. We were talking about that night because him and I went camping this past weekend. And the other thing that happened was we were backstage. It was at a Father John Misty concert. And before you wanted to tell Macaulay Culkin that, you also wanted to tell Father John Misty that you thought his music sounded like good music you'd hear on a cruise ship.
No, the lighting of his live show.
Wait, it was the lighting?
Yes. It was the lighting. I smoked pot at this concert and
with strangers.
And it was
something you can't do in COVID time.
You can't do that in COVID.
You can't do that in COVID.
And
no, that was one of those wild nights.
It was one of those wild nights. And I feel like if I'm constrained to not have some randomness in my life, I want to construct it. So that's why I'm like, let's just message Kristen Davis on Instagram right now and ask her to just be like, do you want to be on the pod right now?
You probably should have told Father John Misty that about his lights. I'm sure like no one's ever told him that. It might have been some good criticism.
I always am a big fan of I feel like any interaction like it might not feel comfortable at the time, but I never regret those moments. I live in regret of them, and I think about them a lot.
I know. I feel like what are lights? Okay. 10-second answer. What is a cruise ship lighting?
Cheesy.
Okay.
Just like cheesy, like all his lights were very like cheese ball and very like overly dramatic. And in my brain, I was like, oh, is he doing a comment? Is he doing a comment on cheesy concert lighting? Like
it sounds like you were just really high.
Yeah, totally.
I was going to say that's a very high thing.
Because I would love. Can you send me a video of what like cheesy concert lighting looks like?
Yeah, I'll find it.
And then I would like to see like what good
concert lighting,
cheesy concert lighting is like.
Who should we call on my phone to ask a Sex in the City question?
Dude, you are so quarantined up right now.
I know.
You are so ready to just drop hand grenades in your life to discharge how on edge you are with being cooped up in quarantine.
I mean, we got anyone in my phone.
Do you remember when you and I did this as a live bit at a comedy show where the bit was, okay, we're going to go through our phones. It was a charity show.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to go through our phones.
Call your ex-fiance.
Yeah, call your ex-fiance.
I don't know. I don't think she'd find it funny.
Play the game, Kevin.
That's the grenade. That's the pin we want you to pull.
That's the grenade. We want you to pull that one.
I don't know. I mean, you are right that if you're going to play with fire, I just feel like then this is for public consumption. That's like that's a lot, you know?
Listen, I think people love to watch car crashes.
Let's talk about Sex and the City. So the last thing was Catch 38. Carrie, we talked with Olivia about Carrie discovering that Aleksandr does not want to have children. Miranda and Steve went up to the Mohonk Mountain House and had their honeymoon. What else happened? The baby saw Charlotte and Harry having sex. And Samantha is going through cancer treatment right now. She used Smith to get an appointment with the super special cancer doctor. This episode, season 6, episode 16, Out of the Frying Pan. Do you guys have good frying pans?
Yeah, Cory does.
Is it like, what kind is it?
They're actually Calphalons. I was gonna get all clads, but I didn't, and I saved the money. And they're stainless pans, and I think it was fine to save the money. And then I got a bunch of cast irons that are like legit from like 1930. I've got like 4 cast irons that are super old.
That's great. I love a good cast iron pan.
I did a bunch of cast iron open fire cooking this weekend camping. It was so good, baby.
Out of the frying pan and into the fire.
I have like just like new nonstick ones.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some new nonsticks. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Pan Talk.
Welcome to Pan Talk.
What do you
That
guys think
was
of when you hear "out of the frying pan"? What is this episode called? Out of the frying pan. What do you think of when you hear that?
I think of
something very-
Jay-Z, the Black
Same here.
Album. When
I
he
was
says,
just
out
gonna
of the
say that.
frying pan into the fire, I'm the Music Man's #1 supplier. That's
Man,
exactly what I think of.
I'm such a nerd. I think of The Hobbit. There's a chapter called "Out of the Frying Pan."
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
fire.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
What happens in that one?
I think they're like tied up. Spoiler alert, I think they it's after he gets the ring from Gollum, and I think he's like tied up, and I think they're about to get boiled, and he gets out. They get saved.
I remember that.
It's been a long time since I read it, and I never saw the movie. So
Out of the frying pan into the fire.
Music Man's #1 supplier. Hey, I think before we go, real quick, I think when we come back, we should honor Kevin's Wanderlust, and we should call someone to be on the pod, just spur of the moment when we come back.
Who could we? I mean, we'll do that. But like, who would it be? A friend or just like a random fan?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Here's what
Let's
I'll
talk
do.
about it at the break.
I'll put someone. I'm gonna post something on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm gonna post on Instagram. Just be like, we're recording in 30 minutes. DM us if you want to be on the episode.
Cool.
And
and send it to Kristen Davis too.
Let's not do that. All right, we'll be back.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Episode 90. Out of the frying pan. Carrie gets upset at Aleksandr for being inconsiderate of her feelings about Samantha's cancer. When her new family outgrows her apartment, Miranda considers buying a house in Brooklyn. Charlotte receives a dog and names her Elizabeth Taylor. And Samantha's hair falls out as a result of her chemotherapy. And now, back to the boys.
We're back.
Welcome back. Welcome back,
back.
everyone.
We're back. We're in Brooklyn.
All right,
We're
I have to
back.
start this conversation with there's like a lot of fantasy realism in the show, but
Yeah.
Petrovsky just frying pan bashing the shit out of that mouse like literally
Yeah.
made me jump. That was some hardcore. Would you
That was
guys
awesome.
have ever done that? Would you ever
Yes,
bash?
and yes, I did one time. I
What?
thought about it.
He's a man.
So-
He's a man acquainted with death. You know what I
He
mean?
is
Like
a man acquainted with death.
he the way he sees the world is not through the eyes of a child. It's through a person who's seen darkness and been surrounded by darkness and
I don't care about any of that. He straight up took a frying pan and bashed the shit out of a mouse and then used half of a paper towel square to pick it up and throw it away.
You don't think that those two go together? Most people are like, "Oh, I don't want to see it. It died in the little fucking poison last night." And he just looks it straight in the eye. Also,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was intense.
I'll tell you. I'll contrast his with the way that I did it one time. I was sitting on the floor in my old apartment in Brooklyn after we had one of those massive nights that we were reminiscing about in the first half of this podcast. And I was out with former Bradshaw Boys guest Mark Menchaca.
Ooh.
And I got home to my apartment and I was sitting on the floor taking my shoes off and a mouse just ran out in front of me and it tried to get through the door and it just bumped its head on the door and realized it didn't know anywhere to go. And then it tried to get through the door again and just instinctually I just grabbed my shoe and I just hit it as hard as I could.
What?
And it stunned it. And then I was like, oh no. But then I had to kill it. So I just hit it 3 more times.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then I just texted Mark back and I said, look what I just did, and sent him a picture of the mouse. And he just sent me some text back that was like, man, you got a lot of problems.
Just imagine if those animals, I don't know, just like imagine you fucking do that and then like straight out of a Disney movie or something, the mouse like looks up and is just like, why would you do that?
know.
You're just like,
I was just looking for Fievel. We were supposed to
I
go
know.
west.
yeah,
Poor guy.
that little. It's so funny that mouse was Jewish. I have to go back and watch that movie again.
Wait,
Oh,
Fievel was Jewish?
Fievel
Yeah.
Mousekowitz. Yeah,
No.
yeah,
That's great. I
yeah.
did not know that.
Little Jewish
When-
mouse.
When you said that, I thought you meant the mouse that I killed. You were like, it's so funny that mouse was Jewish. I was like, how did you know?
I mean, I was, I feel like it could have been.
It was in Prospect Heights, Brooklyn.
Or it could have
It's
been
close to Crown Heights.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of
Jewish mice in Crown Heights.
Speaking of other animal scenes from this episode, you can truly see Kristen Davis's love of animals in this episode. Like it's not just acting. She just as a person loved that dog. That dog was
totally
very cute.
Speaking of
how funny would it be if that woman, if they did that entire scene, played the exact same way, but it was an elephant? Even like when the elephant like jogs up to her, like when she's like running, and then she just like almost pulls her over, and she's like, "Look at you!" And then they have to deliver the elephant to the apartment. It's just like,
and Harry's just like, anything that makes you smile that big, I guess we got to live with, and it just runs through the apartment,
around and just like destroying the apartment, and like,
and then he just kind of does one of these, and then the circle zooms in on his head.
That's so first season. That's so first season Sex in the City. Like that's not totally. She looks at the camera and is like, looks like life just got a little more complicated.
Well, I guess we'll have to name this one Elizabeth Taylor Dumbo.
Operation Elizabeth Taylor Drop.
Oh my gosh.
And oh man, that'd be so funny. Remember in the holiday movie that we watched when the elephant just totally grabs Kristen Davis's ass?
Yeah.
How funny would it be?
It wraps, yeah.
If we like looked at the IMDb and that movie wasn't an actual, like it was a puppet. It was actually like a man and a puppet. That's why. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, she definitely, you can tell she loves animals.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Totally.
Corey, you were going to say something else animal related.
I was going to say, did you guys know that Miranda had a cat named Fatty?
Nope.
Was that Steve's cat?
I don't know where that cat came from.
He just kept when he named it, and I had the titles on, so I could like read it and take pictures like to send to Kevin, and it just said, it was like, yeah, and then me and you and Scout and Brady and Fatty, and I was like, who is Fatty?
And Ma can come over. Come on, let's go in the backyard. Dude, Steve loves backyards more than anyone I've ever met.
All right, let's give the breakdown and let's get into Miranda's apartment first because we got to unpack some stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So the episode was defense mechanisms, denial. Is it a friend or a foe? Carrie, of course, is wrestling with Samantha's chemotherapy, and it comes out in a fight with Petrovsky. Petrovsky, who had a friend die from chemo, is trying to, or has the conversation with Carrie, and Carrie, who is eternally optimistic, they get in a fight over, I guess, their friends and their relationships to chemo. Miranda is looking at a house in Brooklyn. She's looking at a brownstone, three bedroom brownstone, because their Upper West Side apartment is too crowded. Charlotte, of course, is in denial of not being able to have a baby. They say that she won every contest, but in the baby race, she is not winning. She's losing that. And then lastly, Samantha is experiencing actually the loss of her hair. And it comes out in an incredibly brutal time. And I'm sure that that's like probably happened to someone. But man, my heart broke when she was like going down on Smith, and then he grabbed like a clump of her hair and it came out. I was like, ooh, that was particularly rough. So
that was like my entire college experience.
Going bald, your hair
just my hair falling out as I was going down on girls.
As you're blowing dudes and your hair comes out.
Just blowing dudes.
Just every single night you're like, I gotta go take a bath.
Okay, I don't mean to compare myself to a cancer person, but it is, you know, it's a fun storyline for any bald person who's experienced the loss of their hair, not through cancer, but any other way. It was nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
is that all of them?
That's all of them. Yeah. That was it.
All right, let's go.
We starting with Miranda in the house? Yeah,
let's start with Miranda in the house because it is so, no one has ever, this is a huge change in New York City, but at this time, like, think about the people that are making the show. They're all Manhattanites. New York,
Right.
when this was coming out, Brooklyn was a cool spot, but it's still like old world New York.
It was a very different spot though. Then
It was a very different spot, but Brooklyn was
not.
cool.
It's not. No, this was when early.
2000
Like it was
2003,
2004.
2004.
I mean, so yeah, I guess that's. But I'll say this.
That's
I
why I'm
moved
saying
here in
there's a
2000
disconnect. I'm not saying that this isn't the type of show that would be up on that, but it's funny how it was a cool, like since that episode until now, there's been the full entire turnover.
I'd say it's flipped entirely. I'd say
Yeah.
now people consider Manhattan what they thought about Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Like I would say now it's like cooler to live in like, you know, Chinatown, like East Lower East Side, Two Bridges area. That's like where the hipster scene is. Williamsburg in that sense, which was that is like kind of played out at this point.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say like I had a friend, he's older than us, but he moved to Williamsburg in like 1999, 1998 or something like that. And he was like, there's no one out there at all at that point.
Yeah.
And then when I first moved to New York in 2005, I had a friend who'd been living in Williamsburg for a year and a half at that point. And I remember going to visiting him where it was like the place where we would go now in Williamsburg. That's like, you know, hipster ground zero basically, or you know, even just like condo ground zero. And I remember back then it was still like very dicey. So I feel like when this came out, it was like, I think you're right. Like everyone in this show was a Manhattan person, but I don't feel like, I feel like it was still pretty early on the frontier.
There's still Manhattan people. There's still people that look down at Brooklyn the same way they do. And I think they would probably react the 100%. Same way that Miranda would. Like,
well, first of all, where do we think she's moving? I have an idea.
I'd say Brooklyn Heights.
Brooklyn Heights. That's what I think.
Brooklyn Heights.
I would say Brooklyn Heights or somewhere around.
I'd say Sunset Park based on.
I'd say Midwood. Probably Midwood.
So Brooklyn Heights, 2004. How much money do you think she's dropping for? They're not buying a whole townhouse, are they? Or
sound like
it's
3-bedroom?
No, she bought a brownstone. It's a 3-bedroom brownstone in which they were going to have to do reconstruction.
So what do you think?
Steve said Steve said the basement was finished and that place didn't look great. $4 million? No way. This was at the height of the housing bubble. I bet she got it for like 1.3 million.
1.3?
Probably back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this.
Brooklyn Heights is a big time neighborhood though. There have been rich, wealthy people there for years.
This is 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah, but that place also needed to be gut renovated.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. The building that I lived in that I just moved out of 2 years ago in Prospect Heights, a couple blocks from the Barclays Center, that entire place sold for $2 million or less. And it was a full brownstone.
Yeah.
It had to be gut renovated. But that was 2018.
Right. Okay, so let's say she got it. I'm saying 1.5. Is 1.5.
That's fair.
And then how much? And then they're going to have to put how much into renovations? A few $100,000.
Probably 100,000.
All right. What is Miranda and Steve's mortgage payment, and is it realistic based on her job?
Her mortgage payment, depending on the interest rate, is probably like 6,000. I'd say 5,600 to 6,000 a month.
Oh, she can do that.
Yeah,
easy. Back then,
she'd have to have like 400,000 in cash because with the down payment, closing costs.
I think she saved well based on.
So she probably had $500,000, and then that's what she bought with it. But plus, she also owns her place now, so she's gonna be selling that.
All right, I like that this is realistic. I like that this isn't fantastical.
No, I think it's completely realistic.
I have two friends who I believe are a little bit in the Steve Miranda real life thing now. I have a good friend who his girlfriend is a corporate lawyer who makes a lot of money, and how
much do they make? Like 250, 200?
After bonuses, I think she makes close to $1 million.
Fucking shit.
and they are in a place.
I just watched Kevin consider a career change. Like, is comedy something I really want to be doing right now?
Wow.
Yeah.
This past year, that's crazy. If she made that much money, I feel like I lost about that pursuing my dreams.
You're like, wow, speaking of all those massive nights out,
Huh.
I've spent that much in whiskey sodas, well ones. Yeah. So like, I think, but they're in the place where like they're different jobs, and I think everything that we said that kind of tracks to where like I think Miranda could definitely easily throw down that much money for rent.
I think also I feel like I loved that final scene because I do feel like there's so many people, especially the past few months we've been experiencing this, but when you see people that really they need a life change, they need to take a step in something and they're staying in their comfort zone. And it's just like, I was watching that just being like, oh, it's so funny watching Miranda not want to do this thing, but it's like, you're going to fucking love it. Your life is going to be so great there. And you're going to have a home with this person that you love. And I don't know if it's close to the end of the series, so they're not going to get into it with like a brand new. If there were 2 more seasons, I would love to see what her life day to day was like in Brooklyn, because it's similar to my neighborhood. But I'm like, this is just such a good step for her life, even though she wants to be like, I have my Chinese place, and I have my bodega I go to. I don't like change, but it's like this is this new chapter of her life that is just going to be, I think, amazing for her.
Yeah, totally.
I 100% agree, and it was good to like see her realize that through the back window that this is going to be a great thing. And I think Miranda is going to be very happy in Brooklyn Heights. Steve has his backyard. The apparently kid will eventually, go to school there and have a good time. Viral. Fatty and Scout will, be neighborhood favorites. It's going to be a good life for Miranda.
I think that's what's cool about the season is like you're actually the heavy, not the heaviness, but like the overarching feeling of knowing like we're landing the plane is there.
Yeah.
And so you see this and you're like, this makes me feel good. This is really great for this person that's completely fictional. But I'm like, I've seen her go through a lot. I saw her. She's still having cereal. She's still a cereal nut.
I saw we saw a box of grape nuts in the bedroom.
Dude, that's so Miranda. Just fucking
big fan of those.
Just being like, she either binge eating snacks or just like purely functional. Just like, I just need fiber. I need a quick way to have
does
fiber.
anyone like the taste of grape nuts? Or
No.
are they purely utility?
Are you serious?
Fuck you, Kevin. I'll tell you about it.
Why?
We grew up, we were a grape nuts house growing up. My dad liked them. And there's a thing you can make, and it's on the box. They're called hot grape nuts. You put a little bit of milk and you put honey in them, and you get them together. And
that's so much different than a bowl of grape nuts and skim milk.
And then the other thing I was going to say, John, was sometimes I love to come home from school and pour really cold milk and grape nuts, and it is like eating gravel. And I can't tell you, but there's something about it that's so good.
So other than nostalgia,
I also have what I've had friends in the past deem old man mouth. Where I love
raisin
black
ice
licorice,
cream,
as you do.
Black
rum
licorice
raisin
is
ice
delicious.
cream. I love stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I will say this: I haven't had grape nuts in a long time, but grape nuts, Cracklin' Oat Bran. Those are 2 of my favorite cereals. There's another one called Uncle Sam's.
You're like 3 years away from being the guy that has Werther's Original in his pocket at all times.
Dude, that was John and I's. That was our New Year's resolution. Is
we made it like a week and a half. We're just walk up to kids and hand them a Werther's Original.
They're great.
Okay, hold on. Everyone chooses cereal, and on 3 we'll say.
Wait, hold on. Are we choosing the best cereal, or are we choosing?
Yeah, what are we choosing?
Cereal?
Your favorite cereal.
Oh man, this is tough.
Okay, I got it.
Yours is grape nuts. You fucking dork.
I'm kidding. You don't even get to participate in this exercise.
I'm logging off the Zoom. Hang
on. Oh man, I have mine.
3, 2, 1.
Captain
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Oat Bran.
That was the other one I said.
What's Cracklin' Oat Bran? Is that the one with like the honey on the front?
It's the squares.
It's
the
very
circles.
good.
It's the circles. It is really good.
Listen,
Wait, I don't eat cereal. I haven't eaten.
I don't either.
I haven't eaten. I'd say in the past 5 years, I've probably eaten like 3 bowls of cereal.
I don't
ever
eat cereal either. That's why if I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna go full on cinnamon toast crunch. I'm gonna make like horchata cinnamon water or cinnamon milk afterwards, and I'm just gonna live in that.
That's how I feel like there's something about that first scene when she meets Skipper and she's getting the cereal. Or is Skipper getting the cereal? There's cereal involved, right?
Skipper's
getting this.
That's funny. When I saw the grape nuts, I was just totally just like, we've been on such a journey with you, and it's tied together through cereal.
Yeah.
Wait, yours was Captain Crunch?
Mine was Captain Crunch, but
what kind? Peanut butter or berries?
Neither. Just the regular one. That literally just tears apart the top of your mouth.
Wait, there's literally just a corn
it's just kind of like
cereal flavor,
like some sort of sweet corn type flavor.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I like a peanut butter Captain Crunch too.
Yeah, peanut butter Captain Crunch is good. Also, O's very good. So
Reese's Puff cereal is actually really good.
It's very good.
Reese's Puffs. And I'll say this: underrated classic Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
So is what's the Honey Bunches of Oats is solid.
Yes. That's the.
You guys remember Crispix?
Welcome to Cereal Talk.
It's been a while since we've had one of these. We hadn't had a little discussion like this in a while.
Yeah, give us a shout us out what your favorite cereal is. We'll put a picture of Miranda's grape nuts in there. And
we've
get
done this long
chat.
enough. We've done this long enough. We went out on a limb. What's this have to do besides Miranda? What are all the girls? We know Miranda's a grape nut.
Ooh, that is a great.
What cereal pod. Like? All right, let's start with Samantha. Like, what is objectively the sexiest cereal? Like, what is like
Special K? Maybe because it's all about like your figure and like eat Special K so you can look great.
Yeah, and they had like berries.
I could totally see like
dehydrated berries.
Like Samantha, I could see her being like, honey, I don't have time for this sugar cereal. I got to go with my Special K. Put some berries, a little yogurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some cum.
So Carrie's is the one that's going to be the least mature. So I think hers is a sugar cereal.
Like Golden Grams? Golden Grams?
I think it's like, for some reason, I think it's Fruit Loops. It's colorful. It's just like, it's fruity. It's like, I don't know.
I never liked Fruit Loops, but I see that.
Yeah.
I think Fruit Loops for her.
Charlotte?
Miranda is so grape nuts. It's so
Miranda's
good.
Grape nuts.
It's so good. I wonder if they had this discussion in the writer's room and like they were like tossing around Cheerios and friggin' like All Bran and Wheaties and like someone just came with the windmill slam and it was like Miranda's grape nuts and just silenced every writer. Like
yeah. You know, Charlotte is 100% Kashi good friends with the white lady and the black man on the box, just like hanging out together in their sweaters.
My
Charlotte's
gosh.
so Upper East Side Kashi.
She's definitely a Kashi cereal.
I found Samantha's.
What is it?
They're just like, it's just a box. It's called Willie's and it's just penis flavored cereal.
Oh my gosh.
You have to get it.
Penis flavored.
It's just they sell like probably one box a year to some dumb like bridal shower.
Yeah.
It was the one cereal they carried at Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah. But
let's talk about I want to make sure, I guess we talked about Charlotte and the elephant, but I wanted to talk more about like her storyline. I thought it was really, I mean, this episode had some emotion to it, but like watching her out running and just like kind of coping with this and dealing with this has been really I don't know, it's been
satisfying.
It's been
like
it's
dramatically satisfying.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta say, not to pivot too much from this discussion, but this episode had so much good New York scenery in it, like with her going around the Central Park Reservoir running. Like there was a lot of just, it made me really miss Manhattan.
Do you think
New York from what we're talking about?
Do you think Harry signing up for an adoption list was like the right play, or do you think like they obviously didn't talk about that, he just kind of went ahead and did it, like looking ahead and being like, you know, if things don't work out, this is what we have to resort to. He kind of did like something similar to that that Petrovsky did with the whole death thing, where he was like, I'm taking a sobering look at this. This is like what might happen. Like IVF might not stick again. And if we want kids, we're going to have to go this route. And you may sound pessimistic or negative, but it's just preparing for a possible outcome. Do you think that was the right thing?
Yeah. The reason why I liked it was because obviously like any husband or boyfriend in the show is a side character. So, but in a way that moment for me was like, not, sweetie, I'm getting on this adoption list because you want to have a kid. It was like, oh, if he deserved his own 15-minute storyline or 10-minute storyline, you'd see what it's like for him. Like he was planning on having a family with her, you know? And so for me, that was like, that wasn't him asking permission to be like, fix a problem that she had. It was like him, like, it made me wonder like, oh yeah, he's on his own journey, figuring out what his life is going to look like as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, he's solid. But like the character that is rising, like has been on a steady incline and could be my favorite is Smith. I mean, Smith, like just back to back crushing it in these last few episodes. Like,
how funny would it be if he shaved his head and he just looked like a troll, like the most disgusting person? And the whole twist at the end was like he tried to like be with her and help her out, and instead she just saw him. She's like, oh, and she breaks up with him.
And then Gus Van Sant cuts him out of the movie.
Okay, sorry, John. Did I ruin your point?
No. I'm just saying, like him dealing with Samantha when she went and cheated on him with Richard. Him, like his response to this. He is just like solid. And I feel like, I know people love him, but he needs to be in the discussion more of the best guy in Sex and the City, I think.
Yeah. I think he's like just an example of like there's so many people in our daily lives of people maybe we've dated and know of people, but it's like when you're not sure about a person, like, what your decisions surrounding that is like. We have a friend who was newly dating someone and got diagnosed with cancer. Yeah. And that person was like, it was like, they were like a month into just like a new relationship. And he's like, oh, I have cancer. And that dude was there by his side the entire way through. And now their wedding was supposed to be this weekend.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is when he got diagnosed with cancer, he went to his boyfriend and was like, hey, like you can totally, like, I get it if you'd want to leave. Like, this is a major life thing. Yeah. This is not what you signed up for 1 month in. And, his boyfriend, now husband, was just like, I'm here for you. And it was like an incredible display of how to be a great human being. So,
yeah. Well, and I think like this is so much of this television show, but so many great television shows is like what your perspective of what life is supposed to look like versus what reality is. Not just for one, but it's like, that is so true with everything. Like there's almost not a single good thing that's happened to me in my life that is like exactly, it's always like, yes. And like you get what you hope for and it's a little different than you thought. And you have to shift those expectations or else like you're always going to be disappointed. And imagine what you would do if he finally has this connection with this person who's like, holy shit, she's like, she's beautiful and she's confident and she's like super sexual. We're on the same page, this, but she got cancer. Like that's an unfortunate thing. And then I'm going to give everything else up. But a lot of people, that's their entire life is lived that way, is I think like looking for the path of least resistance, the thing that is going to be maybe the easiest. And the people that I know that have the most fulfilling lives have almost more on their plate and struggle more so. Just like our friends that have like 4 kids, like, it's like, what's it like? They're like, I haven't slept in 10 years, but like, it's amazing,
Yeah, exactly.
So I think Smith, to be such a young person, I know we talk about these people, they are fictional, but I do think it's such a cool character because the typical hot actor would be a douche and would not be mature and would be vain. And it's like, how many characters have you seen like him that are on TV that are a hot great actor about to be a superstar, and it's just not a trope in any way. There's like, he's like a not very, you don't see that character in television almost ever.
They seem, it's interesting you're saying that, because I think the choice to him to be in AA, like it's like he's a young person that has already lived some life.
Yeah.
And like we know people, we have friends who, who
Or in
are in AA, and we have some friends who are in AA that were in it at a young age. And I will say that like you meet people who have been through that, and they have a level of maturity
They have,
that, like,
yes,
other people do not have to deal with, because they haven't faced that in their lives before.
Any friend that I have that is in AA is like more fun and more real and more like gracious. Like they have all these qualities that you're just like, that are similar to Smith, I think, that are just like, even someone came to one of my early shows of 30-Year-Old Virgin, and it was like at this place in the East Village, and they were like in the earth. It's funny because it may have been like the writers may have experienced this, but they were like, across the street from here was where the cool meeting was, like in the 90s. Like that was where all the hot people were and all the models, and like it was like the cool AA meeting. And I was like, that's so funny. But it's like, yeah, imagine Smith, if you get into that world at like, or for girls that get into that modeling world at 16, like it's not a surprise that a lot of those people like probably do coke at 16 and like go on benders and sleep with a bunch. And it's like, yeah, by 20, you'd be burnt out. You'd be like, I can't do this with my life.
Totally.
So you think Smith's seen it, but like you think Smith's like lived the rock star life for a little bit, and then he sobered up, and that is,
or
like
he had some sort of wake up call. Yeah,
that's given him like a lot more depth than someone with his normal like age range.
Yeah, I haven't talked to that many people in AA that are like, there was a few times my hangovers were pretty rough. It's like they always have some pretty
I was peering into the void.
Yeah.
They kind of realize that. I mean, that's the whole, I'm assuming, is the whole hitting rock bottom thing.
Yeah.
They get to a place where it's like, it's not only that it was like inconvenient. I just like had a real like wake up call. That's like, this is not going to change, and it's really holding me back,
Well, that is,
we've really come full circle in this episode, talking about Kevin's 45 benders a year or two now. I mean, like, what's actually really cool is AA, and it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would go to one of those meetings. I have to socially distance, and so no, but
maybe they'll start one. Maybe they'll start one at Barbie's.
Yeah.
So we talked about Smith, but I want to talk about Samantha. I want to specifically talk about the scene with her and Carrie, because like Carrie's storyline is also, I mean, it's about a miscommunication she has with Petrovsky, but it's definitely about how Carrie wants to think about Samantha. And I think that conversation where after they went wig shopping, Samantha said, like, I don't do sick. Like, I don't do sick person. And then she said immediately after, like, let me talk about what I'm afraid of. And she like kind of breaks down the things that she's actually scared of. And, it's always a really excellent time when you can see vulnerable Samantha like shed a layer and get down to it. But I don't know, what do you think I don't recall exactly what she said she was afraid of. Was it her coping with the fact that she has cancer and she might die, or was it just that her hair was falling out and she was going to appear differently?
I don't remember the exact.
Let me see if I can like look up the transcript of it or something. I mean, I think that it was less. It didn't have. It had more gravity than just like, I'm gonna look weird with my hair falling out. Like it was more of a thing where I was like, I am facing some really serious stuff.
Yeah,
it was more that. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, for me, it was like, it was more like like the world was like, she puts a lot of time and value into the world looking at her one way, which is strong, beautiful, independent, secure, and like she's a force. And I think what she was scared of is like the world seeing her as sick, dependent, not powerful, weak. Like I think that's like what she was afraid of, is being viewed as someone who at this point in time was incapable. And I don't know, I imagine Like that is something that that is like what, you know, people don't like to be sick. They don't want to be seen as sick and be the victim. And I imagine like people that are going through cancer or other sort of major illnesses like have to wrestle and cope with that.
That's
well. Go ahead. I was going to say I looked it up, and it sounds like we didn't really get to the full thing. She just basically said, "Let me talk about what I'm afraid of, please." And then Carrie's like, denial part of me said you'll wanted to say you'll be fine, but instead I said, "Okay, I'm here." And then she's like, "Maybe I should just shave it all off." She's like, "I better not look like fucking Kojak." And then I think they like go into a talk and then it cuts to her at home. So like it was about I'm going to look weird bald, but really what that, and especially for a woman, especially a woman like Samantha, that's so much more of a thing of just like, I'm changing my life. I'm losing control. Like, let me talk about all that stuff that I'm afraid of. It's not just the appearance thing.
I think too, that is like a real search for her to be like, how can I be strong? Because usually strength comes so naturally to her, and she knows that she's like, okay, I can't fake it. I can't just be like, I'll be strong. And so I think it was cool. It was written in a cool way that was like, it's not like we're the audience. Like the last thing we want to do is like see Samantha, this character that we know is strong, like to write a realistic character of her. Like we don't want to see her break down and just be like, I don't want to die. Cause it'd be like, I that could be real for a person, but it's like, we know enough about Samantha to be like, okay, that's not true. Like also it wouldn't be true for any human being to just be like, sweetie, this is never, like at a certain point we'd be like, when is she going to actually deal with this? So I do think it was a cool creative way for her to be like, I'm scared, I'm freaked out. Like, how can I live in a way that this does not bother me? Because I don't like, I want to be fearless. I want to be all this stuff. And so it was cool to like, and then Samantha, who's so independent and so on her own, like the lesson is like, she had to lean on her friend and she had to lean on this man that loves her, which is really cool. Like I feel like showing her in this way of being like, you need to let other people like carry you in this moment. Yeah. And you have to fucking relax.
And we saw that too with her. Like,
let's pivot off that and go into Carrie. I think I have a quick question for both of you, but
let's just end on, let's Carrie, fucking relax.
That's it. Cosmo rating. Carrie, I think, had a bunch of flip-flops in this episode of her. Like, I think that scene with Samantha was a good friend thing where she just said, I wanted to like not do it, but I just stopped and said, okay, I'm here. Which for people that, you know, none of us have gone through that exact experience, but you know, we've heard from people who have been through cancer and things like that, that the best thing you can do for someone is just to reach out and be like, I don't know what to say, but I'm here. That's the best thing you can do, you know, because they understand that. And like Carrie was able to do that. But I do feel like with the stuff with Petrovsky, and it was killing me. And I guess they played it pretty well, but it was killing me watching Carrie talk to Petrovsky and like shutting him down, being like, stop saying this. And they played it pretty well because it just ended up being that she just wouldn't let him finish his sentence. Yeah. And she was putting up so many defenses. But I want to talk about that, but I also want to ask both of you, because I think this plays in a lot of Petrovsky. Have you dated someone who was of a different culture before? Like that, and what I mean is like not American, like you grew up.
No,
like it was foreign, you know, like in it, like from a different country.
I dated a Spanish girl last summer.
You did. That's true. Because I've been on dates with people that when I date with like people that are British, which is like kind of a different culture, but not really. But then I've dated a first generation, couple of people who were like not born in the States, then moved here. I do think I saw that with Petrovsky.
Yeah.
That like there was a real, I mean, and especially the Russian thing. Yeah. There was a real like focus on reality and death.
Yeah.
Straight ahead right there, which I thought was super interesting, which is like, I think cultural in a lot of ways.
And a very interesting like subject for Sex and the City, like subject matter for them to cover, because
totally.
I'm sure anyone who has dated someone who is of a different culture probably runs into those miscommunications. I think they're like way more readily available than someone who just like, yeah, I lived in Chicago, she lived in Michigan, like we're basically the same. Like,
right.
But I mean, someone who was born in Russia is going to have a very different outlook on life or death or things than someone like Carrie, and you're bound to run into problem areas with the communication. So
yeah. Also, they don't show the weirdest thing with dating a girl who their language was English was their second language is anytime it got too late, she would just like have a hard time like translating. Like she said like she had to be
tired.
She'd get tired and she'd be like, I'm sorry, I just don't want to speak in English anymore. I just like, it's harder. And I was like, oh, that's such a funny thing. Like you just like, you get tired and you're like, and I'm like, oh yeah, this whole day you're like working 10% harder to speak, to like do your second language. But I thought that I want to
pull you. I'm sorry. You were chopping up a little bit. I interrupted.
No. I just, I thought that was interesting. I agree. I concur with everything Cory said.
I want to ask a question. It doesn't have to be a long form answer, but whose side of that dispute were you on? Carrie's or Petrovsky's?
In the beginning, definitely Petrovsky's.
Can we pause real quick?
Yeah.
So my headphone jack is in the, the way the microphone is, the USB microphone. It's in such it's too big, so I can't charge my computer right now, and my computer it's starting to get choppy because my computer is like at 10%, and so I feel like that's why it's starting to get choppy.
You can't flip it to another USB cable?
I mean, I could. I would just have to unplug my mic and stuff right now, so that's why I was pausing.
Let's wrap it up.
Do you have enough power to wrap it up?
I'm on 2%. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let's just wrap it up.
Okay, cool. I mean, we are at like we're at 40
minutes.
Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jeremy, we're coming back.
Okay, Balon, we're back.
Do 3, a quick version of that question and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, so real quick, I want a yes or no. Are you on Team Carrie or Team Petrovsky for this dispute?
I'm on Team Petrovsky.
Kevin?
I'm on Team Petrovsky because you have to be able to. I understand where Carrie's coming from. I don't think it's a selfish moment like other selfish Carrie moments, but you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, you have to let a person express the death of his friend the way that he did as well, even though she's in the thick of it. So I'm Team Petrovsky.
Yeah, I'm also on Team Petrovsky. I think like I was actually frustrated that she wouldn't let him talk about the death of someone that was close to him. But I understand where she's coming from. Yeah, I think we need to do the Cosmo rating. This was cool. There was so much to cover in this episode, but let's do a quick Cosmo rating because we're pushing time here.
Cool. All right, I'm ready.
All right, what do we got?
You want me to just go?
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. 4.0.
4.25.
Ooh, Kevin, defend 4.25.
Go first.
4 strong storylines. It's a bit of a downer, so it's hard to be fully positive about it. But I just thought it was great. And I thought like the balance of all 4 of those storylines was beautiful. And I just thought it was really a wonderful episode. And the extra 0.25 was for some of the humor that Kay Davis brought to it. And the Brooklyn heart, my heart was full watching someone like go to Brooklyn for the first time. And then some of the Smith Samantha storyline was just like so beautiful. So
yeah. I gave it a 4.0 because I thought, kind of like Kevin said, some heavy storylines, but they did it all really well. I think the reasons I go higher is usually when it's just like tons of storytelling and I get those good Sex in the City feels where I'm like, what? That was amazing.
Totally.
And like this one, to their credit, they dealt with things really, really well that were very hard to deal with. And they also brought a thing that I think that some of us are even facing right now, whether you're in New York or not, is people moving out of cities, that kind of thing. And so like they did the Steve and Miranda thing pretty well. But 4.0, solid. And it's crazy. We're seeing some like good wrap ups. One quick thing I will say is that the Carrie Petrovsky espresso scene, we talked about this in our Patreon coffee talk. You can't have a good espresso machine at home. And, but he forced her to have espresso, and it was interesting to see Carrie take down some espresso right there. And then he was like, "You're a writer. You should like more coffee. You're a writer." That was an interesting moment since we just talked about coffee. That's where I'm at, 4.0.
Can we just do a 10-second Steve talk of what he experiences when he goes in that backyard for the first time? Just a little conversation he has with Brady.
Sure. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Brady, let's play some stickball. Okay, Fatty, you're first base. Scout, you're second, okay? Here we go. I'm going to bat. Give me a stick.
All right, there we go.
Your Steve
Fatty,
Brady
of course.
is I think Steve had a few Red Bulls earlier today.
Yeah.
It was, I think because you said 10 seconds. You know what it reminded me of? You know, in Total Recall when Arnold Schwarzenegger gets like, he gets shown like radiation and his face just starts to explode and going like that. That it reminded me of that.
That's also what that's.
I gave it a. Sorry, go ahead, Kev.
I don't know. I don't even know if my microphone is working now. So
it is.
Okay. I was just gonna say that's Steve talking to Brady and the dog out back and running around like right after he found out how much money it was. Like Miranda's like acquainted and he was like, well, this place can't be more than 150,000. She's like, Steve, it's 1.5 million. And then that's him having a panic attack and out back.
Hey, let's play some stickball. We're going to go to Junior's Cheesecake every day, right? Because we're in Brooklyn. That's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to go to pizza. We'll go out to Defara. Oh, my God, I'm freaking out.
The property taxes here so much.
Oh, God. Hey, maybe our neighbor Willie de Blasio will be the mayor one day. He's a great guy. I bet he'll do fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Brad's always getting political.
I gave it a 4.0. I thought all the storylines were great. I think that it was like one where Carrie's storyline essentially was also Samantha's storyline, which I don't like they kind of bled together a little bit, which was fine. But you can it's interesting that you can kind of start seeing the rumblings of the unhappiness with Petrovsky. So we'll have to see where that goes. Yeah. Also, I know the mouse is like a huge thing we probably didn't give as much credit to, but if I ever had a mouse crawl in my bed on my face, I don't know if I could ever sleep a night in that apartment again. I know for sure Katie would never ever be in that apartment ever again. So
I don't know if I could ever sleep again.
Thank you all so much for listening. Please give us a like and a subscribe and some comments on the iTunes. Also check out our Patreon. We do a bunch of goofs. Our last episode was a coffee episode where we talked about what type of coffee drink all the ladies are, and we share our secrets for brewing our cups of coffee.
That's right. And we decided at the break that instead of calling someone and just randomly getting someone on the pod, we're going to do that on the Patreon.
That's right. So we totally talked about that up front.
We totally talked about that. We never did it.
Ghosted.
We just decided instead of we had so much to talk about here, we're going to call someone, whether it's a listener or a famous person, and just get them on the Patreon at a moment's notice. So we'll do it on the Patreon. Also follow us on Spotify and on Twitter and Instagram. Kevin does a really fun job of the Instagram, so follow that.
Kevin doesn't know if his microphone is working out. He says he loves you. We all love you very much. Later, taters.
Later, taters.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Kevin James Doyle, and Jon Sieber. The show is produced by me, Jeremy Balon, and narrated by Katie Sieber. This podcast is part of the Seltzer Kings Network. Check out all their great podcasts at seltzerkings.com. You can find the boys on their socials at The Bradshaw Boys or on their website at thebradshawboys.com. And as always, if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.